Okay, today is Tuesday, November 28th, 2017, and Talent Raters is delighted to be interviewing Randie Levine Miller. How are you, Randie?
Never better.
Great.
I'm so happy to know about your launch of your new and wonderful magazine that has great potential, and I don't think there's anything like it out there. So I think that being cutting edge or edgy is a very positive thing for you.
Well, thank you so much. We're hoping great things, and so far it seems to be pretty hot, and it's staying hot. So that's a blessing for us, and we do appreciate that you've noticed. So I was just kind of curious, just to kind of get to know about you. Where are you currently located right now?
I live literally and figuratively at Lincoln Center with Hamlish, named after his uncle Marvin.
Oh, wow, how nice.
My hubby niece. And he can't write a musical, but he moves his tail like a metronome.
Very nice. Okay, so why don't you explain to all of us what your primary talent has been, or maybe you have multiple talents? Why don't you tell us your talent and what you've been doing all these years?
Well, I would say since the beginning of this century, I've been producing events all over New York. I've done a lot of work for the Actors Fund. I've done concerts for them at the Triad and at the Metropolitan Room. And I do my Randie Levine Miller Showstopper Divas and or Devos with the Best of Broadway. And I started doing that at the Friars Club. I was pretty much the in-house producer and sometimes host and sometimes performer from 2002 until 2011. And then I decided, from the TV series, it was a spin-off of All in the Family. I think it's the Jeffersons. We're moving on up.
No, no kidding.
I've been moving on up.
Right. So it's safe to say you've been in the industry for quite some time, correct?
Well, yes, I started out. I started out to be a performer, and I suffered from paralyzing stage fright. I had every opportunity and to
No
make
kidding.
it as a singer actress, and I remember going into a recording studio, and I went to the High School of Music and Art with some well-known people, and I went into a recording studio, and I froze. My father paid all this money, and I still have the record, the old vinyl record of it. They had to use all kinds of voice enhancers and music enhancers in the studio because my voice was gone. And I would say that 2 or 3 years ago, I really shed the stage fright. And now I ask about script and do and I think, and I'm currently working on my act, who wrote my act together and taking it on the road, and several other musicals. She's actually the mother of John Cryer, who I believe is very famous. She was on a very popular TV series. And let's see, I handled in my PR business. I did a lot of entertainment, and I always say that my two best subjects are entertainment and medicine for some reason,
Right.
because I've handled a lot of clients in those worlds. But I've become the consummate entertainer the last couple of years after producing all these tributes to people like Marvin Hamlish and Charles Strauss and the late Irvin Drake and the late Marty Richards, who was this bon vivant producer. He produced the original Chicago and Sweeney Todd, and he produced
Right.
the movie version of
Right.
Chicago, and he was one of the great characters in the entertainment world, Marty Richards. And Marvin Hamlish, and I did tribute to Marty Richards at the Friars Club, but Marvin Hamlish used to write songs for me at Camp Geneva. And he composed on the same piano that Luce Charlotte wrote Peter Pan, the same upright spinet. The camp started in the 1920s and it ended in the 1960s. And there were some very famous people including Penny Marshall, who was not allowed to conduct Shabbat services, and she was very pained by that as a young girl. And at a camp reunion, because they weren't Jewish, everybody thought that they were Jewish. And in 1990, after she had directed Awakenings with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro, they finally apologized, and she did Shabbat services at camp.
Right.
I don't have the video. There was a video of this. So I really started. I started to move forward with the talent that I had, but then I got such stage fright that I wound up. I was always everybody else's fan.
And I want to touch on that, because that you're not alone, and there's so many people that deal with that. I know of plenty of situations where individuals were put right in the spotlight or right on a TV camera, or it was a news clip, and they just completely froze up. And you said about a couple of years ago, I got past it. So what was it for you that helped you move past that stage fright and kind of face your fear?
Wow. Well, when you do things constantly, after a while it gets a little bit easier, but it wasn't that. I know this is crazy, but in 2013, I shed. Let's put it this way: I have probably the largest playbill collection, and it was like it was going to push one of us out of the house. So I had a choice between my husband and my playbill collection. Husband playbill, husband playbill. The playbills are still here. I got rid of the husband, and it's like I have this incredible enthusiasm for life, and I'm pretty fearless. Other than learning how to drive or getting on an airplane, I'm totally fearless.
Good for you.
If I get on a stage, it's like it's almost orgasmic for me when I go on a stage. It's better than a great gourmet meal, because I know that I have the ability to make people feel good.
Right.
Performers that are coming on the stage, as well as the audience. I never talk down to my audience, but in answer to your question about stage fright, because I didn't want to get away from that, and I have a tendency to go off topic, I did not know that, and this is something that entertainers should know about. I did not know over the years, because I would get a physical reaction if I have a fight with my husband. It was the same reaction that I would get to before I go out on the stage. It was total fear, but it wasn't just mental. I had a physical reaction, and from what I understand, and I did not know about it, there are beta blockers. You take a beta blocker before you. I mean, it'd have to be prescribed. You have to go to the doctor, but you could take a beta blocker, and that will relax you and get rid of the stage fright. And there are, some people do drugs, some people do alcohol. I now am just, full speed ahead. And when when I know my stuff, I really, the fear factor is pretty much gone. And also, what I learned from Dick Cavett was to, if I'm doing an interview, as I did with, the day that I did Porgy and Beth, where we were Bethwood, for the fun, what I learned, and I wrote down, listen, process, and then react.
Right.
And it's done me well. And also the most important thing that I know when I get on a stage at any time is to celebrate my other performers that are with me, as well as celebrate my audience and appreciate my audience. And as I said, never talk down to them. But the most important thing to me is keep your audience awake.
Right.
Many people go on a stage and they're pleasing themselves instead of thinking about connecting with their audience.
That's great. Yeah, I recently made a new friend. I make friends all over the place now, which is kind of exciting. And one friend that I made in Australia said to me, "I can tell that you really love to sing, and you have a really nice voice, and I think that you're not going to be truly happy until you get out there and start singing." And I said to myself, like, What are you talking about? Are you out of your mind?" But the more I started thinking about it, I said, she's kind of right. And but when I think about how do I do that, do I start singing over here or over here? It just seems so ominous and so scary sometimes. But I'm thinking about it, and the fact that I'm thinking about it could lead me to that point where I do that, and it could be very fulfilling. And I'm hoping I can get to that point. But yeah, I can definitely say that I have a little fear about getting up there. But I think if I could get up there and just get that little momentum, that I might have a little something to show. But I can totally relate. So very nice.
But Joseph, what you might want to do is maybe take a performance class.
Yeah, yeah. I'm all for all that. Now that I'm meeting all of you professionals and celebrities and stuff, it doesn't seem so far away. So, anything where you can learn and learn how to perfect a skill or whatever, it's nothing but the best. It's all good. So. Yeah, I appreciate that was really good because I think that's going to help a lot of people. And one question that I always have in my mind that if I'm going to speak to somebody that's been in the industry a long time or celebrity talent, I always want to ask, how did you get your big break? Because there's so many struggling artists out there that can't even pay the electric bill, and they're trying to get to that mecca point. What was it for you to really get out there? And was it a person?
Well,
What was it?
yeah, I can't really answer that except, I have to share with you. I had every opportunity. I grew up at the Bellwood Country Club,
Yeah.
and the heads of the William Morris office were there, and they used to bring all the biggest stars there, and so I was always around all of them, and they really, this very well-known talent agent who was he was one of the great gentlemen, was really wanted to give me my break, but again, I went into a studio and wrote, but I later found out. Many years later, I was at a dinner at the Friars Club, and this very elderly gentleman I was speaking to, I mentioned that I grew up calling Nat Lefkowitz Uncle Nat and his wife Aunt Sally. He was the head of the William Morris organization. And then the late, great Harry Kalshon was Uncle Harry. And actually, Harry Kalshon's nephew is one of the biggest producers on Broadway, Kevin McCullum. I know he doesn't sound Jewish, but he's Jewish.
Right.
And I sat at this dinner, and this gentleman, very articulate, and he said, "Well, great that Harry wanted to possibly sign you, but you know who he discovered and signed?" And I said, "Yeah, a lot of Broadway people." He said, "No, not just that, Elvis Presley."
Wow. Yeah, you can't get much better than that.
Break. I'm giving myself a break because the break that I got was to produce all of these wonderful events at the Friars Club
Right.
with legends and then start this series by Diva and Devo shows and then take it out and then really start to perform. And the person that really gave me my break was Jean-Pierre Trébeau, who was the executive director of the Friars Club up until about 7 years ago.
Fantastic.
So he's the one.
First, very good. I like that. So for people that haven't really had the experience or haven't been in the industry a long time or hit celebrity status, maybe you could describe a little bit what the pros and cons of industry or entertainment life are, for us. Kind of paint a picture.
Repeat that, please.
Some of the pros and cons of maybe celebrity status or being in the industry so long. Is it all pros? Are there any cons? Like some of the positive and negatives. Some people would say it's a rigorous schedule because you're always performing and you don't have much time to yourself. And some people might say I can't go out in public because I've got the paparazzi. I just try to paint a picture of
Well, I know what you're saying. Actually, what just comes to mind is Bette Midler. I did all of these tributes to great talents. I think that it was either for Leroy Reeves or Tony Roberts, and I had all these incredible Broadway performers. and Beth didn't perform, but she showed up in a babushka looking like a bag lady. And it was like a very formal kind of event, or let's just say it was an elegant event. And Freddie Robin, who was the dean of the Friars Club at the time, was going to blow the cover of Beth. And then she had to run a gauntlet. And we're talking the Friars Club, an entertainment club. And it turned out that my best girlfriend, who is Alan Menken's sister, was on Broadway sharing a dressing room with Beth in Fiddler on the Roof in the early 70s and late 60s.
No kidding.
So Faye, who's not even 5 feet, went over and grabbed Beth and got her away from the paparazzi and all this crap, so she wouldn't be, photographed and put in the paper.
Right.
Most of the people I know who are stars most of them are family people. This is just what they happen to do for a living.
Right.
In other words, you're an accountant, you're a doctor, you're a teacher. This is just what they happen to do.
Right.
One of my friends, her name is Beth Fowler. Beth Fowler was Hugh Jackman's mom in The Boy from Oz. Beth Fowler was in several films and stuff, but she was the best Mrs. Lovett I've ever seen, and also the best Mrs. Pont. Anything that Angela Lansbury has done, Beth Fowler, I believe, has done even better. Different, but better. But it doesn't matter that she was nominated for all these Tony Awards, because nobody knows of these journeyman actors. So I'm on the street with her. I've taken her to a show, and all of a sudden, all these people are coming over to her in the middle of 42nd Street. Why? She's the nun on Orange is the New Black. Everybody knows her from that Wakanda show.
Right.
So here, this is a situation where, she's a working person. Len Cariou, who is on Blue Bloods now, and he was on with his wonderful Angela on Murder, She Wrote. Len Cariou has won 2 or 3 Tony Awards. He takes the bus in from New Jersey, and it's just a journeyman actor.
Right. It reminds me of Keanu Reeves. I don't know if you know the background of Keanu. It's a pretty amazing story. He does all that kind of stuff too. Rides a subway and doesn't live in big mansions, and just does it his own way, and kind of gives a lot back, which is kind of nice. And I think that's what you're saying. Some of these people are still fulfilling these roles, and they're still, they still have the capacity to be ordinary people when they want to be, and I think that's kind of neat.
Well, most of the people I know are pretty humble.
Yeah.
And one of the more difficult people, from what I hear, not with me, she was great with me, Bebe Neuwirth. One day, I also was producing the Drama Desk Awards for Broadway and Off-Broadway. For many years, I was producing the nominee event over at the Friars Club. So I used to call it my annual schmooze with no booze. And Audra was living in Westchester at the time. She shows up. I offered to send a car for. She shows up wearing red and very high heels in the morning, and just like the perfect pro. Bebe Neuwirth. I said, we'll send a car for. She says, Randie, what do I need a car for? It'll take me less time to just jump on the subway. And and then there are the others that say, well, I want hair and makeup. I mean, that's the way Elaine Fritsch was.
Right.
And, I've known a lot of these people. I can tell you in terms of people like Peter. I just came from, I had to see this movie about Hedy Lamarr, and I'm sure it's going to be on television because it was produced by American Masters. And Hedy Lamarr was a big movie star. Did you ever hear the name?
Say it one more time.
Hedy Lamarr.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not 100%.
Okay. She in 1933, she was stark raving naked in a German film called Ecstasy.
How about that?
And she was a major movie star in the United States in the late 30s and 40s, and then she aged
No kidding.
And I was amazed. I mean, she was a genius.
That is amazing.
She didn't get paid for it because the patent had already expired.
Right.
Anyway, she died in the year 2000. But this woman was, the reason why I'm going to tell you the story is because this is very weird. So one of my friends, Josh Ellis, who is the press agent to all the major Broadway shows for many, many years, and he trained everyone on Broadway. He was David Merrick's press agent. He was Yul Brynner's press agent. Sandy Duncan, Eartha Kitt. As a matter of fact, he would impersonate Eartha Kitt because she was, so high-strung and wouldn't do interviews. He used to do radio interviews in her voice to get away with it. Well, anyway, he recommended that I go see this film. So I went down to the IFC today, which I've never been there. It's actually a wonderful little theater. And I saw this biography of Hedy Lamarr. And the reason why I wanted to see it is that I was at a party 40 years ago, and I met her. And she was exquisitely gorgeous, and I was at the home of a plastic surgeon, a young man with a young family who died mysteriously shortly after this party. And he introduced me to Hedy Lamarr, who was at his home. And she was absolutely gorgeous, but the giveaway were her hands were old. And this was in the, as I said, it was like maybe it was the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this is the weird thing. I'm standing with him, and he said, "You see those beautiful girls in the corner, those beautiful women?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "They weren't always girls. They have stunk." 40 years ago, he was doing the faces of the transsexuals.
Oh, wow.
And there's no record of him anywhere now. And he died mysteriously. And it was shortly after another transsexual who was at that party. I think he was this other transsexual was murdered. But there were all of these people, and there's barely a trace of Peter Freed.
Wow.
Except a blip of a mention in a story. And I thought that was really weird. So the reason why I wanted to see it was because he had introduced me to Hedy Lamarr.
Gotcha.
And she was a Jew who never would admit to being Jewish, and from Vienna. And I thought that was kind of interesting, too, that her children were interviewed. Her children are two of the most unattractive human beings you could ever see. It's amazing. Mieskite, the song Mieskite from Cabaret.
Right.
Mieskite. Okay, and then they have a gorgeous child. Well, this was a gorgeous woman who had the ugliest children.
No kidding. Wow. Yeah, that happens sometimes, That's funny. My question is that I'm not as familiar with, but you're known for being a part of the longest running variety show and connected to the Metropolitan Room. Maybe you can explain what that was all about and when it started and why it got the world record and what was on the show. What was the variety stuff all about?
Okay, Bernie Firsthand, who is a wonderful producer and I would say that he is, just one of the most visionary kind of guys, owned the Metropolitan Room. And the Metropolitan Room, to me, was a jewel of a club. It just closed, and they're scheduled to reopen in a bigger venue, which I don't know yay or nay if it will happen. But he had this idea for 2 days, this was a few years ago, to put on the longest running variety show. So it started, I think the first one probably ran like 48 hours, but then the one that we did this year was 24 hours. So it's like a potpourri of some wonderful and not so wonderful performers, and it's streamed live, and it's just this wonderful, joyful event. So I've been part of that, and then also I started something, my business cards read Hostess with the Mostest. I started something called Randie's Roundtables, where I do one for a bunch of creative women, but the one I do once a month every time, it's people in the business, writers, directors, actors, composers, lyricists, choreographers, and I have like at my regular round table. My two regulars are this Josh Ellis, who's done a play called My Publicist, which is about his life and times with David Merrick and Yul Brynner, all the most difficult people in the whole theatrical universe. He handled all of them, and he handled the most difficult shows to promote also. And David Merrick, they call him the abominable showman, Josh was like, he treated him like a son because he was so honest. And Yul Brynner just absolutely loved him so much, and again treated him like a son. So he's a great storyteller. And at this round table, he and also Leroy Reeves dish, and they tell stories that we should not want to. We can't repeat. So it stays. So it said Sardi stays in Sardi. But this Ken Waisman, who is one of the most brilliant visionary producers, is the man who started Grease. He found it like in a basement.
Wow.
I don't know, somewhere in Ohio. And he nurtured Grease, and he brought it to Broadway. He brought it off Broadway, and then he brought it to Broadway. He did the same with Harvey Firestein's Torchstone trilogy. And Ted is in his 70s, but he's young and ageless, and he's producing another show. But it's like at these round tables, the stories, the anecdotes. There's Michael Garrett, who plays down at the Roxy, who did a show called Song of Singapore, which launched Donna Murphy. And it's a great show. Well, he was hired by one of his friends to do a musical version of Sleepless in Seattle. And one day, his wife said to him, I hear you're not doing Sleepless in Seattle anymore. He said, what are you talking about? He said, it's in the Times. They fired him.
Huh.
And the new people that they hired were so awful, the show's never going to come in.
Right.
So but the stories that go on here, and I can't go into much detail, but it's even been said that a very well-known comic actor who was very famous years ago, you would not remember him, but he was friends with a world-famous surgeon, and he went into the operating room, and the surgeon said to him, well, what do you think, Danny? Oh, that's the thing, Danny. You want to sew the guy up? Have you let him sew him up? No. It's a true story. It's a horrible story, but it's a true story. Everybody lives.
Gotcha.
Remember on Seinfeld with what was it? Oh God, not the Goobers. They're watching an operation, and I don't know, that's snow cap, whatever it was, it fell into the body.
Yeah. I think I do remember. That one was funny.
Like juju bead or something.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. All right. Anyway, ask more questions.
Well, there's a lot of talk in the industry that pay to play, and some people don't agree with that. But I was just wondering what you think personally. Do you think that every artist that's trying to come up to celebrity status, they need to invest to some extent in their career, or do you think it's just a fairy tale ride?
No, it's not a fairy tale ride. I think it requires an excellent manager,
Mm-hmm.
an agent that cares about you, and you must hire somebody to do publicity promotion.
Okay.
The internet is one thing, and it's like you've got to have, when you go to the doctor, there are different specialists, and they all have to relate to each other.
Yeah.
You always say, get doctors that are at the same hospital so they talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. You can't become a star unless, it's a fluke. I mean, look, I truly believe that this woman who came out, the one who looks like a hooker, and she posed for Maxim and for Playboy,
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever heard of this radio host before she decided to go after Al Franken. What did he do?
Mm-hmm.
Really? And she was asking for it. You
Yeah,
know,
seems like a lot of that's happening lately. All of a sudden, out of the blue, after 30 years, someone wants to point an accusation at someone who's famous and put to me, I look at that, I find some of that a little bit malicious, malintent to try to just hurt people. If it was such a big issue, why didn't you deal with it right when it happened? And 30 years later, but I know what you're kind of saying. I just wanted to pop in on that because it seems like a lot of that's happening right now. A lot of different celebrities, and I don't think it's always the celebrity's fault. I think there is
oh,
some.
I agree. There's okay. Several years ago, because he's young. There was a guy who started Tale of Two Cities. His name is James Barber. I don't know if you remember the story.
Mm-hmm.
He was accused of statutory rape or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and but the girl kept going back to his apartment,
Mm-hmm.
underage, and he was young too. And there is no way that this guy raped her or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He became like this pariah. And then when he was hired to go into the star as Phantom of the Opera,
Right.
they wouldn't. People were protesting. There were pickets. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, I didn't look it up yet on Google, and so you can't quote me. But somebody told me that the girl that did this was Kristen Milotti, who's now a big star, who starred in Once on Broadway.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know how true it is, but
Yeah, I don't either. But I know the point that you're kind of making, and I just think that when you hit celebrity status, it almost seems like some people just have it in their mind that you automatically become a target. They can do what they want. I mean, people have free to choose. Things don't just happen out of nowhere. And like you said, just keep coming back to the person's house, and all of a sudden, try to get the notion down the road. Say, okay, now let's use this as a means to be a play for myself, and I find that very tasteless. Because I think that
also, what's the big deal? And what's the big deal with Al Franken? I don't think is a sexual animal. I think, look, I've taken pictures with John Lithgow. He's very tall.
yeah,
And I remember putting my arm, around it. It was on his tush. And I said, John, my hand is on your tush. It's, just, it's not my fault. It's just that you're so tall and I'm just not that tall. And you're always keeping it.
right,
It's not a sexual thing.
right.
What is this crap? Or in the show Chicago, they do this thing where he goes to her breast and goes around the
I think it's getting carried away. I mean, if I want to go there and we want to talk about Weinstein and all these women that are coming forward, I kind of see on Weinstein's point where he's saying like, hey, like I didn't, force these people to, they could have just said no and they could have walked away. I think they're kind of taking advantage of him totally, and that's what I feel. And I'm not saying that I'm just siding for a man, because I would say if it goes towards the women's side, I would feel that there's probably some situations that happen on the women's side, but it seems in that situation, all these different people, are coming forward. It just seems like it's easily for me to feel like that's malicious, and like they didn't have free will with what they were doing. Like if they didn't want to be involved with the guy, they could have just
Excuse me. No, with Harvey Weinstein, that's a totally different animal.
yeah
That's a totally different animal, just like Bill Cosby.
yeah
That's a different animal. But honestly, I still think, who wouldn't want to have sex with Bill Clinton? Come
yeah.
on.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. First of all, I probably would not. I would definitely would not. But I mean, for women, I guess, yeah, that's a high status. When you have that status and stuff, and that's exciting or whatever. But you have to be very careful. I think whenever you reach a certain status, even if we don't do anything wrong, there's certain people out there that will try to say you did, and I believe that totally happens. I think you could be totally a good family man and totally mind, and there's just people that will just try to say they did things that never existed, and you just have to be careful. And you just have to, when that happens.
I can't agree with you more. And sometimes women who can be the predator themselves,
Yeah.
especially by looking provocative,
Yeah.
and and coming on, and then the guy is all of a sudden interested, and and basically just, oh no, I only do auditions. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's just a lot of hogwash, and I do believe that when women are rejected, some of them are so crazy they go after the guy. But again, Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, and from what I understand about Kevin Spacey, that's all the real deal.
Yeah.
But these others, no, come on.
Yeah.
just like let it go, and from so many years ago, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be news. What should be news is that North Korea just fired another missile
Mm-hmm.
east. I mean, that counts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
there's a lot of stuff like that counts.
yeah,
The fact that people can't even go to a concert in Las Vegas without being gunned down and just trying to listen to music nowadays, that's entertainment. Those kinds of horrible things that are happening. Um,
yeah.
People can't go to see a movie without, wondering if someone's going to start shooting up the movie theater. Things are so crazy in today's society and stuff that I just think it's just like people have to just live in fear. But I mean, you have to still go about your
Live
business,
in,
but you really just never know.
live in fear. You have to be cautious,
Yeah.
but you can't quote live in fear.
I think some people do, though. That's what I'm saying. Not that, and I think the
Yeah.
smart people would say, I still have to go live my life, and whatever happens, happens. But I know some people now, after some of these events, that say, no, I don't think I'll be going to a concert and such and such, and this is around this, or I don't know if I need to go. If they're going to have a marathon in Boston, I don't think I need to go see it. No, everybody else can, but I know people that are like that to say, I'm just not going there because these individuals that are out there just target these big events and these types of things, and you just never know. Something that might just be a normal pastime to go see and be a part of, who knows? I mean, it's just people are doing so many outrageous things, and so many times they're tied into entertainment, which is a shame. But
Right, right. I
you know,
agree with you.
yeah,
But it's scary.
it is
It's
scary.
scary, and and people are still having children, and I always wonder. But I remember having a conversation with my mother, and she said because people want to have hope,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
and in order to survive in this universe, you have to have hope.
True.
But
True.
so I mean, do you have children?
I have two. I have a
And
daughter and a
where are your
son.
kids?
Yep, 8 and 6. And the 6-year-old is my son, Joseph Christopher Bennett the second, and the future president of Talent Raiders. We hope if we make it that far, and we're hopeful. But yeah, they're beautiful kids. But it is it's tough. I don't know. I thought it was tough kind of growing up when I was young, and I think it's getting tougher and tougher nowadays. Um, you know. I would just personally say for my kids where they got to go to school, we pay a lot in taxes, and the only school that they can go to is one school, and it's kind of an inner city school, and you just never know what you're going to get, and we've got a lot of money and investment tied up in the business, so we'd like to send the kids to the Catholic school because that's where they
Right.
it's very good, but you can't just say, hey, I want my taxes to go and cover the Catholic school. It doesn't work that way. Church and state and separation and all that.
Right.
So stuff like that. I would like to know that I could. And then they say school choice. Maybe you can, but then maybe they only have like one seat, and those seats are like taken immediately before your kids even have a chance to go to the school across the lake or something. So. And then they got to go to an inner city school where they're subjected to lots of different content or whatever. I'll just put it like that. It's interesting, not to put anybody out, but when you go to school, we've had to deal with some things already, but that's the best that we can do right now. There's no other option.
Well, what town are you in?
I'm in Lindenwold.
Where is that?
That's not too far from Cherry Hill in New Jersey, South Jersey.
Oh, so you're very far. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're closer to Philadelphia.
I'm closer to Philadelphia. Yeah. And for some time there, my daughter was going to the Catholic school. She's doing very well there, but it's expensive. And it's like I said, you put all your money into your taxes, and you'd like to be able to, have a choice. But the only one you can't use your taxes to go to the Catholic school. That's just the way they have it set up, and I don't really find that fair. I can't really wrap my head around that. And then if you're less than a mile away from the school, then you don't get bus transportation, where all the other kids are just 1/10 of a mile and they get to hop on the bus and go to school. And I'm paying taxes for that, So I don't know. I just have some issues with different things, but I still think when I was growing up, I grew up in a tough neighborhood, and I thought that was pretty tough. But I think the world that we live in now is just, I try to keep my kids safe the best I can, but I'm always, I just, I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but there's just so much bad stuff, more bad stuff happening in the world than even when I was growing up. So you just have to be hopeful.
Well, you have to be hopeful, And, I guess, when your kids leave the house in the morning, please God take care of my children.
Right.
And I do believe that God has a plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a nice plan.
Right. Definitely. And I would just say for my kids, I'm very fortunate. They both have artists for parents, and my son loves to sing. He's already playing drums, like his daddy, and my daughter's been dancing out of the womb. She loves to dance. She's in dance class. She loves to sing.
Is your wife a dancer also?
Not so well, a little bit. I think it comes from my mother though, because she always loved to dance, and I think my daughter gets that from her. And just when her big teeth came in, she has that similar smile to my mother. When I see her smile, I kind of see it's funny. I see a little remembrance of my mother in her smile. Just that's the same way. It's so cute. I think my daughter definitely gets the dancing more from my mother, but there is definitely dancing on my wife's side and her side too. A lot of music and stuff that way. So there's arts on both sides either way. But yeah, we're pretty fortunate to have the kids taking up the arts, and it just comes so natural for them. So it's kind of nice to see where they're going to go with it.
You're right. It's wonderful, really wonderful.
Definitely. So I would just say, like, to touch on any particular venues that you've played over the years, or you performed at, any places you've traveled in particular that stand out that you want to talk about just briefly, and then we'll kind of close out maybe with like a special message that you'd like to give to your audience and your fans.
Well, as I said earlier, the most important thing to always remember is to keep your audience awake and interested.
Right. I guess if they're snoozing in the audience, you got to step something up, right? If you see a lot of snoring going on, you got to kick it into another gear, I guess.
Well, I only know that sometimes my eyes bother me, and I remember it was actually recently, I was at a really boring show off Broadway, and I was in the first or second row, and all of a sudden I hear, and I look and I say, oh God, that's me. Oh my God. And it was during a quiet moment.
Oh no.
So embarrassed. Yeah, it happens.
It happens. What are you going to do? Yeah. That's actually kind of funny though. I mean, not funny, but it's just kind of like humorous when you look back on it, right? And say, yeah, that had that moment or something. But,
right.
Yeah.
So you know what I should probably do? Let me, I don't know if you have Richard Skipper's blog that, I sent some background to Steve. I don't know if he sent all of it to you.
Okay.
Or not. So,
I don't know if I don't think I've gotten anything back from anyone specific today, just when we kind of communicated earlier and we lined up the interview. But as far as like any background or images or anything for the magazine, not too much yet.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll send you this background, or some of it was part of press release of me singing out in New Jersey in Bloomfield at their Performing Arts Center. I'll send you what I have.
Okay.
Which isn't and it gives you some interesting background stuff.
And also too, I mean, we always encourage to like extend the chain forward if you know of anyone that would be good for the magazine to put in the magazine or put on the cover. We'd be glad to work with them also. And we know that in order for the magazine to really go really hot and really big, it's going to take the big names and the big celebrities and stuff, and we're working on that. But it's all about connections and the right people connecting that out, because you don't just get to the celebrities easy. It just does. You have to have the right people that are in connection with them. So I think that's happening though. So, but anyway, it's been really delightful to have this interview with you this evening, and to learn more about you and your talent, and all the events that you put together and the variety show. And we really do appreciate it, Randie. And we look forward to. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say thank you so much, and I'm just going to forward you a couple of things, because it was the story that Richard Skipper ran 5 years ago gives you some really solid background, and I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Terrific. And we look forward to it. And like I said, we're looking forward to having you in the January printed issue. We have supermodel Anna Kulanova, that's I guess New York.